Okay, so welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This is where we take sources you share, could be anything, articles, notes.
Right, research, whatever you've got. And we basically just dig deep. We pull out the important bits, the insights.
Trying to make sense of it all, maybe give you a bit of a shortcut to getting informed.
Exactly. And today, we've got something pretty different. One of you sent over this multimedia ghost story. It's called The House I Couldn't Leave.
By TATANKA, just came out June 4th, 2025, and the description says it's AI generated and uses binaural beats.
Yeah, sounds designed to, like, influence brainwaves.
Yeah.
We've got the source text, the analysis provided with it, and that's what we're focusing on.
Right, so our mission here is to really unpack this story based only on the text you sent. We want to get at its unique angle on haunting.
Explore the main themes, how they weave together.
Look at the narrative, too, since it's told by the ghost, and figure out what those immersive bits, like the beats, are actually doing.
Okay, let's dive in. Because the source material makes it clear right away, this is not your standard ghost story.
No, it says the house I couldn't leave kind of moves past the usual horror stuff, gets into something more psychological, more emotional.
And the narrator is the ghost, 𝗧𝗕𝗓𝗓.
Yeah, and the absolute core idea, the main thing the source pushes, is that the story isn't really about a haunted house. It's about what haunts the ghost himself.
That's a great flip. So he's not just haunting, he is haunted.
Exactly. Haunted by his own past, basically.
Okay, so what is it then? What's keeping him there, according to this analysis? It lays out three big themes, right? All tangled together.
And the first one, the source calls it the primary force, is memory and guilt.
Ah, okay. So not death itself.
No, not just dying. It's this really heavy, corrosive guilt, specifically about a violent death, Caroline's.
Caroline's death. Okay.
And memory here isn't just remembering. The source describes it as active, almost like a malevolent thing. It warps the past, won't let go.
So he's stuck reliving things.
Constantly. And the house itself triggers these loops. It's this cycle of memory he can't escape.
And the guilt is silent, right? The source mentions that. Unexpressed.
Yes, exactly. Bound by silence. And that silence becomes the haunting. It's the horror of memory that just won't fade, not really the horror of being dead.
So when he tries to, like, make noises or move things,
It's not meant to be just scary. It's this desperate need to be seen, acknowledged, maybe even punished, the source suggests. His actions are like a diary he can no longer write.
wow, a diary he can no longer write. That's potent.
And the truth of what he did about Caroline's death, it isn't just laid out. It unfolds slowly through atmosphere, metaphors.
Which makes sense, right? Like how real traumatic memory can work. Fragmented, suggested.
Precisely. So ultimately, the source argues he's haunted by himself, by the weight of what he did, what he remembers.
Okay, that connects really well to the second theme. Then.
Yeah.
The house. The house is a prison. An architecture of emotional entrapment is how the source puts it.
Right. It's not just the backdrop. The source sees it as this psychological landscape,
Right.
almost alive.
Sentient. Reactive.
Yeah, holding memory, just like he does, it's like an extension of his own internal state. Looks solid, but it's actually falling apart inside.
So when the new family starts renovating,
He feels it as a desecration, like they're tearing him apart too. The house groans, it breathes, it reacts to the emotional vibe. The physical tension mirrors his own brokenness.
and the locked room, the source really emphasizes that.
Oh, definitely. That's key. It's the physical place holding his worst memory, the real center of the haunting.
A place the living can't get into, and maybe even he's repressed.
Seems like it. And the source says when that door finally opens, it's not just letting out a ghost, it's letting out the truth.
And the room changes.
It transforms from maybe a hidden sanctuary to his actual prison. It signals this huge shift in power, the truth coming out. The environment isn't passive, it enforces the story.
Even the little details like drafts or clocks stopping.
The source connects those back to his inner state, like dissociation, depression maybe. The house resists change because it needs to trap him, trap that history of violence.
So the house is character and consequence, representing memory, morality.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all wrapped up together.
Which brings us to the third theme, justice. And this is where it gets really radical, according to the source. The victim, Caroline, becomes the jailer.
Yes. This
Yeah.
is the big subversion. She becomes the agent of retribution, the new master of the house. It turns those, often patriarchal ghost story tropes on their head.
She's not just a sad memory or a passive victim.
Not at all. She actively comes back for justice. Her silence, which was forced on her, becomes her weapon. Her presence becomes his sentence.
She reclaims the space. reclaims the silence.
On her terms.
Ah.
And the source highlights that chilling reversal. Thaddeus felt the house was his, but now he's the one locked in, hearing her footsteps.
Yeah.
Like a metronome of penance.
It's a haunting based on presence, not jump scares. Exactly. A powerful feminist take, the source suggests. She doesn't become a haunting, she becomes the sentence.
And it's framed as correction, not revenge.
Right. A cosmic rebalancing. The silenced woman gets to sing. Her hymn, described as ancient, older than language, reminds us justice can be subtle. A locked door, a name whispered, a house that remembers.
Caroline becomes a principal. The silenced inherit the space they were denied.
A very powerful idea.
Okay, that gives us a really strong framework for the what. Now let's trace the how. How does the story actually unfold from Thaddeus' point of view? Let's use the chapter details.
Okay, so the beginning, prologue, chapters 1 and 2, we meet Thaddeus, teacher, husband, solitary guy, lived there 47 years, buried Caroline, then just stayed.
Death for him was silence-shattering, which he liked.
Right, peace. But then, just 6 weeks after he's buried, the new family arrives. Their noise, laughter, kids running it, shatters his silence again. It feels like disrespect.
The first betrayal, he calls it.
And his initial haunting is, well, petty. A war of inches. Closing doors, whispering names, trying to make them feel the pass.
But they don't really get it. They dismiss it all.
Exactly. He feels unseen. Watching them paint his kitchen, change his house, their life feels like it's erasing his history. They think the house is empty.
Their first mistake, he notes.
And sleeping there is the second. He's right by their bed, listening to them explain away the sounds, old house noises, settling.
But he says he was settling. Into rage, his silence becoming sharp.
Yeah. He tries more, cold trails, unlatching a window, moving small objects, a spoon, a boot, the clock.
They notice that stuff, right? They argue about it.
They do, but they stay. Call it quirks, settling beams, write them off like mildew. And that lack of fear, that's the real insult to him.
He even whispers, "Leave," through the keyhole. And the guy just laughs.
Thinks it's the house playing tricks, which just fuels Thaddeus's frustration.
Then the renovations start. That must have really pushed him.
Oh, yeah. Hammering, drilling, tearing his home apart. That's when he decides they need to feel him properly.
So lights flicker, snap off. A door slams shut.
He dislikes the city air, he says. And then the big one. He knocks over the ladder the man's on, quietly, steadily, makes him fall.
And they still rationalize it.
Yeah.
You're imagining it.
Unbelievable, right?
Oh,
But for Thaddeus, it's his declaration. I was here. This house was mine. Nothing you built here will ever be yours. He sees himself as the ghost of their ambitions, the past resisting.
This ties into the deeper past too, right? The source mentions a flashback to Caroline's death.
Yes, a really intense memory sequence, chapter 7. He remembers being human, having a voice no one heard. It's vivid, the cold wind, the house creaking, Caroline appearing real.
But then?
Then he came, the other side of him, he calls it. Shadow in his eyes, his hands grabbing her, her screams.
Oh, God.
He remembers feeling totally powerless, helpless, silent, then the aftermath. Blood, the broken lamp, and the silence that followed, the worst silence.
And the source connects this to why he can only whisper now.
Exactly. He even tried to communicate during a seance the family held later, tried to express his pain, his rage, his sorrow, but nothing came out but a hollow echo. He's trapped with those echoing screams only he hears.
The source also mentions earlier inhabitants, adding another layer.
Right. Chapter 8. The family disrespects old artifacts. Thaddeus remembers there were ancestors there before settlers, their presence was felt. He implies he's not the first angry spirit tied to that land.
So his haunting connects to a longer history of disrespect.
Seems so. The family tries using salt. He says it stings but doesn't work. He shakes the house, rattles windows, trying to show them the price of disrespect. He mentions drums getting louder, a warning they ignore. It adds this weight, makes the house even more of a character holding layers of consequence.
But then there's a shift, isn't there? With the child, Isabel.
Yes, a really significant turn, chapter 9. She's different. She sees him, senses him, doesn't flinch.
She draws him, gives him an identity back.
Yeah, a figure in a long coat, a portrait. And this creates this pull in him, a desire to protect her.
The source calls this pivotal.
Absolutely. Her innocent look brings him some warmth. She sees him, knows he's there, but keeps quiet. During a storm, he feels her fear and shields her with his presence.
He realizes connection was what he needed, not just anger.
Seems that way. Isabel gives him purpose. He offers protection. It's a moment of grace, almost.
But it doesn't last, does it? His power starts to fade.
Yeah, chapter 10. He realizes he can't scare the others anymore. The creaks, the flickering lights, they don't react. They're immune. They've forgotten him.
Even Isabel stops acknowledging him.
She stops smiling, stops drawing him. He tries harder, moves things, whispers, but nothing. He's invisible again. And the source says this loneliness is worse than their fear ever was.
He regrets pushing too hard.
Yeah, he feels like part of the wallpaper, an echo, desperately wondering if he's even still there.
Which leads us to the climax. The locked room.
Chapter 11. The room they all avoided. Locked by fear, the source says. Thaddeus knows it holds him, the memory, the bloodstain. Caroline's. It was his sanctuary and his prison, where it all ended and started.
And the family finally opens it. Curiosity.
Or maybe the house pulling them. The lock turns and the truth just floods back for Thaddeus. He relives it right there.
He sees himself.
Yeah.
Younger, human.
Yes. In that room, brightly lit, waiting, where he betrayed her. And here's the twist the source highlights. It wasn't just his rage that led to her death. The man she trusted locked him in that room afterwards. The truth was buried with him.
So the room isn't just where she died.
It's his tomb, his prison. He feels the tears, the guilt, the pain, wants them to understand, but they just see remnants, dust and shadow.
And then Caroline's presence emerges.
Right then, an ancient hymn starts. Forgotten dialect, low drones. The source says it's her pushing through, demanding justice. The family feels it. The truth, her presence. They bolt, terrified.
Thaddeus.
Chapter 12. The family's gone. Caroline waited. Now she's free. Thaddeus tries to follow them out of the room, but the house itself shifts. The door closes on him.
Locking him in.
Exactly. The room that held her truth now holds him. And the lock. The source says it's made of justice.
Wow. So she's moving through the house now. Her house.
Yes. Whispering, singing her hymn. Beautiful and devastating, it's described. And with each note, the walls of his room feel closer. It's not revenge, the source emphasizes. It's balance.
He waited in silence. Now he waits in noise.
Her noise. The house creaks like her laughter. The shadows are her presence. No peace for him. Ever. He's the haunted one.
She never screamed back, the source noted. Just waited.
And now she watches him from outside that door, free. She's become larger than him, the house, death itself. He's still there, waiting. The door never opens.
Colder. His voice gone. Just her hymn, a noose of melody, and her footsteps.
Yeah. The final thoughts are chilling. Some ghosts are jailers. Some men are never forgiven. She never forgets, never forgives.
Okay, let's connect this back to that immersive element mentioned.
Yeah.
The 4 Hz binaural beat.
Right. So the source explains 4 hertz is in the theta brainwave range. Theta is that state, kind of between waking and sleeping.
Like when you really relax, maybe half dreaming.
Exactly. Where memory gets drifty, time feels a bit weird, associated with deep relaxation, but also that sort of unmoored feeling.
And the source argues this fits Thaddeus' state perfectly.
Perfectly. He is unmoored, caught in memory loops, stuck between times. So the 4 hertz beat is meant to gently encourage the listener into a similar state, more emotionally open, receptive.
Makes it easier to slip into his perspective, feel that caught feeling.
That's the idea. And the source stresses it's subtle, it doesn't jump out, it pulls, gently, quietly, just like the house itself.
You might not even notice it consciously.
Right. But it's meant to settle in into your bones, into your breath, into that still place within you where echoes live.
So the sound design directly supports the story's themes about what remains, what lingers.
Yeah, it helps you inhabit that in-between space, mirroring Thaddeus' own limbo between life and death, past and present. It's a really clever integration of form and content.
So wrapping this deep dive up, it's really clear The House I Couldn't Leave, based on this source, uses the ghost story structure for something much deeper.
Definitely. It moves past just scares to explore that internal haunting guilt memory. Makes the house a living participant.
And delivers this really powerful, quiet kind of justice through the victim, Caroline.
And you can see the echoes in your own life, right? How do memory and guilt play out for us? Do certain places hold that kind of emotional weight for you?
Yeah, or what does justice even look like when it's not loud or obvious?
And maybe think about how things, stories, experiences, maybe even sounds like those binaural beats can affect us subtly underneath our conscious awareness.
That's a lot to think about. This deep dive really highlighted that exploration of guilt as the real ghost. The house is this active psychological space, and that final, chilling justice.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. What memories are so powerful for you that they might echo on long after the event?
Or are there spaces in your own life that feel like they hold on to the past as tightly as Thaddeus' house?
Perhaps the story's deepest suggestion is that the most inescapable prison isn't made of bricks and mortar, but one we build ourselves from truth we haven't faced, or guilt we haven't resolved. Something to definitely chew on.